Hello everyone. Can you see me? Is it blurry? Is it frozen there? Just going to see, there seems to be a little bit of a lag, so I'm just going to see if that rectifies itself. Is it juddery? It's a bit juddery. It's not as smooth as I would have hoped. Can you all hear me? Give me a thumbs up if you can hear me. Do the usual as well, guys. So write in the comments where you are watching, what room, and please, 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 can you click like, love, haha, wow. Share this, tag someone that you think would benefit from this. And we will get going very, very shortly. I have a couple of questions that we have left over. But also, if you have any questions for this week, then please, please, please go down here into the comment section and write your question and we will get to it live. Last week we had 17 of you online. We had loads of questions coming in live and I love the live questions, so we will always do that one. Very weird how I can't access your screen at all. Last week after our live, Facebook actually did an announcement which said the Facebook system for lives basically broke because so many people were trying to access it. Not as in so many people trying to watch our stream, unfortunately, but so many people were trying to do it all at the same time. Right. So, how many have we got watching live? That would be interesting to know. I'm going to kick off with Andy Page's question very shortly. Unfortunately, I can't do that thing where I pop up the question here, as Facebook is not playing ball still. Spent so much time on prepping some stuff for today. But unfortunately, that hasn't gone quite to plan, but hopefully we will still be able to do something as brilliant as last week was. I really enjoyed last week. Unfortunately, as you can see, we're inside today. This is our office, one of our track banners here, and a lovely striped wall, as you can see, is the setting. Have you got your coffee ready? We've had a cafetiere this morning of Origin coffee, not sponsored. If anyone from Origin is watching though, that would be nice if we had some ground espresso, please arrive to our door. Right. So we're going to kick off with our first question. So Andy is one of our Friday Night Track Club runners. Andy, if you're watching, hello. It'd be good to know how many people we've got live. 8 of us, 8 of you online at the moment. That's cool, thank you very much. Make sure that you tag someone in to join that you think would benefit, may want to know something around fitness training, nutrition, running. I try and get up to 14, which has been our average. But Andy asks, question on compression shorts. I feel like I run better in them. Do they help keep muscles more efficient, etc.? Basically. So compression shorts, these are the very tight lycra material, often made of elastane. You might see them as Under Armour garments or Skins or Nike Pro stuff. Other brands do exist, are available. But basically, the garments themselves are actually validated. They are proven to be effective. They're not necessarily proven to improve your running efficiency as such, but they do have some good physiological benefits. They are certainly on the smaller and more reduced benefits, should I say. That's possibly the best way to say things. So basically, the idea behind a compression garment is that the material is pushing down on the skin, which increases vasodilation, which basically means more blood circulation in the area. I don't think this box over here is doing anything, is it? It should be populating with, oh, it's over here. It should be populating with some kind of conversation. I don't know if, no, I think I'll get rid of that box because it's just distracting. So yeah, basically the idea is that it increases the blood flow, blood circulation, and thus allows you to transfer more oxygen around the body, which obviously is what we need to run or move or train at a higher requirement, because there's more demand on the heart, and therefore as you increase your intensity, there is almost a lag of oxygen circulating in the body, and that's something that we really find that gets to a peak, and at which you can't increase your intensity, or you can't maintain that intensity, and therefore you either have to do one thing or other, and that's basically reducing that peak, whether that's by stopping, reducing your intensity, or reducing the duration of your exercise. So that's how the compression garment works. During exercise, there is a small contribution from wearing these garments. A lot of it is psychosomatic. So basically, you feel tighter, you feel like it is doing something, and therefore it will allow you to perform better. So during racing, it's more psychosomatic, except for the thermal stuff. So there are usually two different types. There's one which says just like compression, and then there's one which says thermal. The thermal stuff basically does increase the surface temperature of the muscle tissue, which basically aids warming up process. It's a physical, environmental thing which helps warm up the body. So I would recommend it, particularly in colder months, to use them. But from the compression part, it's a very, very small, minute area of performance. What's really interesting though is for the use of compression garments in recovery. So after a long, hard run, not the easy runs, after a long, hard run or a very heavy volume of training, you will find that compression garments, if you wear them for a couple of hours, I think the max is 6 hours, don't quote me on that. Most of the brands actually put in their label document saying how long you should wear them for, but I think it's up to 6 hours, which you can wear these garments for. Any longer than that, it's actually detrimental to your body. But up to 6 hours, and the compression does the exact same thing that I was mentioning by increasing vasodilation, increasing the oxygen circulation, which kind of accelerates the recovery period, and on top of that helps rid the body of lactic acid. So thermal, or should I say compression garments for recovery are excellent. Compression garments for during runs and during race, you might find small benefits, but a large percentage of that is actually psychological. And then for the winter, it's probably wise to wear some form of compression garment, even if it's just normal running leggings, because they have some kind of tightness feeling. Interesting anecdote on them is basically if you wear compression tops, you will find that as long as it's for short periods of time, that it'll actually require you to work on your posture, right now actually, work on your posture and tighten your core up. So we switch our muscles off, our abdominal muscles off an awful lot, and therefore having this garment acts as a reminder, it's a trigger for us to stay tall, stay strong, and actually engage, brace our abs. So Andy, if you're watching, a few different points really there for you. I hope that does help. Drop us a message in the comments if you still have a question regarding them. Cool. So we've got 6 of us on at the moment. Oh, Danny said, is using socks post-exercise like baths though, so can reduce adaptation. Is using socks post-exercise. Ah, I get you. Cool. Yeah, so like I mentioned the other, was that 2-3 weeks ago, something like that, Danny? Yeah, so you will find that there is a battle over adaptation. So the ice baths thing was basically reduced adaptation to training stimulus, and therefore you should use them minimally, ideally around competing as opposed to in training all the time. I personally feel, Danny, is that with calves, so you know the socks as opposed to the long leggings, the calves ones will aid your recovery more so than the detrimental adaptation part. So the calf, because it gets so tight, particularly from high volume on tarmac or high speed running, you can often find that you basically can't run or perform your training runs as higher intensity when your calves get tight, and therefore by using the socks maybe once a week after the really difficult session can prove beneficial, allowing you to train again hard, again hard, again hard, again hard. So basically the net benefit is greater for a small use of the socks as opposed to just saying, I'll let my calves get really tight and therefore I can't train as hard as I like. So put this into context, I went and did our Friday Night Track Club session actually the other day, and basically my calves were that tight, I wasn't really planting my heel at all. Thinking about the credit card distance underneath the heel. If you don't know that, ask it in the comments. I don't really want to bore you all with that if you don't need it, but basically I wasn't able to plant properly and therefore I wasn't actually pushing off, so my toe off the ground wasn't as forceful as it should be for a 400 meter interval. So in short, use the socks, particularly when you have tight calves, particularly in winter. Use them maybe once a week and allow your training to be as intense as possible. Hopefully that helps. How many are watching live? We've got 8 of us still. Come on, let's get into double digits, guys. Grab your coffees. We've got a few here, a few more questions. Ian Brennan. Hello, Ian. How are you doing? You had another fantastic time this week, didn't you? Well done. Very good training. Was going to do session 3 today. Unfortunately, arthritis in left knee has flared up again. Couple of days rest, then back out running. That's really, really frustrating. Arthritis is something you have to be particularly careful of. Rheumatoid or osteoarthritis out of interest. It does depend on what you're taking, Ian, but this might be of interest to you. It depends on what medication, because omega oils have a massive contraindication, I think is the correct word. Contraindication? Yes, it's the correct word. It's a nice word to use, isn't it? But has a major contraindication with medications such as warfarin, so you need to be really, really careful with this. But if you are not on any kind of blood thinner and your GP says you're good to do so, high doses of fish oil concentrate basically have shown to work actual miracles in terms of running and health and fitness, actual miracles with the symptoms of osteoarthritis. So it's definitely worth looking into. I'll post the journal article. I'll try and remember to post the journal article this week on the Performance Physique Facebook page, which talks about it. But it's up to something like, actually, I'm not going to say the amount they tested up to, because the top end is quite toxic, is a little bit too much, but it's substantially higher than the 3 gram per day dosage that is recommended to normal individuals without osteoarthritis. But they found that it completely halted symptoms, didn't reverse them, but halted symptoms. Interestingly also, worked with people who have osteoarthritis, who have had knee surgery, who were told by the consultant not to run or to give up running and take up cycling. Funnily enough, he was an avid cyclist. Wonder if that had any bias. Who was basically said, you'll never run again because you've got osteoarthritis in your knee. Anyway, she went out and ran a 5k 12 months down the line. I think just off 5k PB recently as well. But anyway, it's completely possible. I once saw a doctor for, it was a fracture, orthopedic doctor, for a knee injury. And this was when I was trying to be an athlete, and my job was full-time coaching at that time as well. So basically everything revolved around me being active and doing these sessions. And basically the doctor said, yeah, you should probably just stop. And I was like, oh, okay, well, I can't really just stop. He was like, no, you should probably just stop doing anything that hurts, and stop moving around on your knee so much. Bearing in mind, I was like, I don't know, 23 or 24 at the time. So I'm about a quarter of the way into my life. And then I told him for my job, this wasn't possible. And he was like, yeah, well, I used to have this too. I played badminton once a week. Doctors are great, but they don't always completely understand the requirements for sport. So just make sure that you don't get het up about seeing one person, see a few. One of my mates is a doctor and has completely spoken about how he's really, really, really good at the things he does. Outside of that, he'd quite happily ask me for a bit of advice, because that's the thing I've specialised in. Anyway, Ian, let me know how you get on. Let me know which kind of arthritis it is. I'd be interested to know, and I will post that article. Okay, this one here. Following on from the above. Carrying an old injury that flares up when increasing training. What should I do? I can't run so that I don't feel like I've lost everything I've got. Yeah. So an old injury cropping up, preventing your training gains, basically. Nothing quite as frustrating, eh? Lockdown basically is an opportunity to work on weaknesses. Remember, I said that from before. You basically need to identify the areas that you can improve. Improve the situation that you're in for the long term. Identify the things that will carry on a stimulus for your performance. So if running is your activity and you're unable to run, the things that you need to stimulate are your cardiovascular system, aerobic system effectively, to maintain some kind of fitness, whether that's really striding out on walks, whether that's cycling, whether that's maybe some hill walks. Actually, hills, brilliant for that. And also creating some kind of stimulus for your quads, your hamstrings, and your calves. So stuff like lunges, reverse lunges, and forwards lunges stimulate all three of those muscles. As long as you can stimulate the muscle tissue, then you should be able to maintain the majority, like 90%. When I mean the majority, I mean actually really do mean the majority of the performance training gains that you've had so far. The main thing is really to outline and agree to what you're going to do. Don't just say I'm going to do these things and then I'm just really depressed that I'm not able to go and run, because running is the thing that I'm absolutely loving right now and I can't do it, therefore I won't do anything, rather than, okay, I'm going to do something about it. Even though it's not running, it's hopefully going to allow me to run sooner and at a better level than having done nothing. Remember I spoke about my tight calves. It was here. This is where I sit during the day if I'm not coaching. Don't worry, I'm not going out coaching people face to face, it's all virtual. But I've had a lacrosse ball on the floor here for the majority of the week, and I've been rolling my feet for a couple of hours at a time because my feet and my calves have gotten really tight because I've increased my mileage, and exactly what I was talking about, we're trying to combat that issue of having tight calves and not therefore being able to put absolute power into my toe off whilst running. So, Kate, I hope that answers your question. Ian, I hope I've managed to help answer your question and probably give you some ideas of what you should try and do. Stimulate it in some possible way, whether that's just sitting down and doing quad tenses. That means sit on your bum, have your heels into the floor, and you work in having your feet basically extended and gradually come closer and closer and closer, and tensing your legs 10 seconds at a time max, and doing like 10 of them in each position. So choose 3 points at which you're going to bend your leg from straight to bent, and just work through tensing them. That is a muscle stimulation that you probably don't do very often unless you're actually actively exercising. So even something as basic as that is useful. Andy, hopefully I've answered your question. If you are watching right now and you're finding this useful, please, 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 can you share it? We're trying to get as many people involved in this as possible. Hit like, hit love, haha, wow, even that angry face if you have to. And hopefully, yeah, we've got one more question here. Any more questions? No more questions. It's a quiet week for us today. So this question actually came direct to me. And I'm not going to name the person because it came in a private message to me, but I think it will actually help a lot of people. So I'm just going to give you the gist of it. I do hope you're managing to keep up with the bit of video lag. It's really irritating me. And I will try again for next week. But basically, this question was revolving around making performance benefits. So when I say performance in this circumstance, we're actually talking about body recomposition. So that's increasing muscle mass, decreasing body fat. So making those performance benefits during the week and then still not seeing quite the results that you expected to. So most of us measure, and it's understandable, it's not necessarily the right way, but this isn't the time to go into depth with it, but most of us measure performance and kind of progress for weight loss within a very, very simple method of standing on some weighing scales and seeing the value drop. And if you see the value drop loads, then you're like, yes. And if you see the value drop very, very minimally after a long period of time, so, and we basically, we're not very patient people at all, but so let's say 2 to 3 weeks, you're like, oh, what was the point in all that hard work? Maybe I'll just stop. So with this in mind, there are loads of different things that could be behind it all. But I had a discussion with this individual, and we're going to look at one thing at the moment, initially, that we could possibly address. So this individual is in a calorie deficit from Monday through to Friday. So that basically means that they're consuming less calories than they're burning, because they're doing lots of exercise. They're doing loads of exercise. They're keeping their steps up. They're doing a fantastic job, to be honest. And the amount of calories they're ingesting is very low as well. Not too low and you're going to go in starvation mode. That doesn't exist. Don't worry about that. That's another video for another time. And if you've watched before, if you've been part of the 4 weeks, 4 kilos group, you'll know all about it. But basically, they've been in a calorie deficit and should be actually losing roughly just shy of 1 kilo each week. So a couple of pounds it probably works out as. They're not witnessing quite that amount. So what's happening between Friday, Saturday and Sunday? Their food isn't actually changing. Their food's not changing an awful lot at all. At least consciously it's not. There might be a little bit of habitual nibbling on the weekend, which does occur for some of us. I wouldn't probably class myself as a habitual nibbler. I'm probably the habitual gobbler, in the fact I'll have large handfuls of everything I can get my hands on in the snack cupboard until the snack cupboard is empty, and then you find yourself in a lockdown and you don't want to go to the supermarket and therefore you have no snacks. I haven't kind of given in and ordered stuff off Amazon just yet to be delivered to my house, but I'm sure that'll happen if we're in lockdown for too much longer. But basically, this individual isn't consuming too much food on the weekend from what it seems. However, enjoying a couple of nice beers. You will find that beer, because of its high calorie content and it basically has this curve like this. Hopefully you can see that. Of you consume one, and it increases your chance to accrue the second beer. Accrue. No one's ever spoken about beer guzzling like that. And then basically, as you increase the number of beers you drink, the more beers you want to drink, until you pass out or whatever it is. But basically, you increase and on and on and on, which means that your calorie consumption actually increases more than what you would with, say, you have a slice of cake. There's the stopping point for eating cake for most individuals, because I know Kate's looking at me thinking this isn't right for you, but for most individuals is actually lower than that of beer. You won't considerably consume loads of cake. So each beer, say 220 calories, and you could easily consume up to 2,000 calories worth of beer. Whereas if you're having a slice of cake, which was 200 calories, it's unlikely you're going to have 10 slices of cake in a sitting. Let's not rule it out. Sounds like a challenge to me, but it is unlikely. And basically, we're seeing that actually this massive calorie deficit this individual has done from Monday to Friday, which is absolutely fantastic. Like, looking at the values coming in, I mean, they're really, really good values. And hopefully, if they agree, I almost said their name then. If they agree, we can talk about this in more depth next time, because I think this affects a lot of us. But basically, the massive calorie deficit from Monday to Friday, getting them to this point down here, where their weight is probably at the lowest on Friday morning, and then increasing of beer goes up, up, and up like this. So they're only actually seeing maybe a third weight loss over 7 days of what they could be achieving without the beer. Is this a time to be hard dieting? No, I say it every week. This is not the time to be doing that. However, it's always time to be mindful about your alcohol consumption and trying to see whether you can moderate it on days, or maybe rule it out for a week or whatever it is, to suit your lifestyle, and just make sure that you're not ruining all the progress you make. Are you in the 4 weeks, 4 kilos group every Friday? I think it was every Friday morning I'd send out a message in the group. It's like a Facebook group, and the image would go up saying, don't ruin your progress this weekend. And basically it's, you've done great. Don't now consume the 20,000 calories that you've just missed out on Monday to Friday on the weekend, and you find yourself at 0.0. Just choose wisely over what you will have. So last night, I chose gin and tonic instead of my lovely craft beers, because there was about 170 calories less in the gin and tonic than the craft beer. I chose half a slice of a custard slice, and then I had another gin and tonic instead of a beer, and then I finished with a beer. Bit of an odd order, I appreciate that. And when I went to get the beer, I thought, I could go get one of the 2 remaining items of chocolate that had been sitting in the fridge, to get a bit of a crunch. And instead decided, no, I'll save that for Sunday. Yes. But therefore, not ruining any small amounts of progress. I haven't really been trying very hard this week, but I've tried better over the last few weeks, this week than over the last few weeks of lockdown. Just be mindful over my decisions of, did I actually need to consume the 500 calories that were in that packet of chocolate on Saturday? I've had a custard slice, I'm having a beer, maybe I could just move that to another day. Hopefully that helps. Hopefully that guides some of you. If that individual is watching, great. Do get back to me over whether we can talk about this in more detail. Right, at this point in time, I don't think we've got any more questions coming. Cool. So I'm going to give you 60 seconds to write any questions you have, maybe any follow-ups. Faisal Khan, you asked a few questions over the last few weeks. I think something like 3 questions over the last fortnight. So if you're watching this on the playback, I would be interested to hear from you if you have any more questions. If you've been trying any of the strategies I've spoken about regarding muscle gain and training for 5Ks and training for weights. Have you seen, actually, whilst I'm giving you all these 60 seconds, have you seen the amount of talk on Twitter about people who are not runners suddenly taking up running and posting about their 5k times, and then it basically went to the the Premier League teams. I think it's Chelsea. Quite a number of the Chelsea players have been like saying they've been running like 16-minute 5Ks and stuff like that, and a few footballers have been calling them out. I think it was Roy Keane. It'd sound right if it was Roy Keane, wouldn't it? But Roy Keane basically saying there's no way you are running a 16-minute 5K. 16-minute 5Ks are fast, like really, really fast. I think, is it 16:23, the local park run record? If you're watching, you'll know what the local park run record is, I'm sure. But 16 minutes is super, super fast. Like, I'm not super, super fast. And my PB from when I actually did train enough, 16:44, I think, something like that. And all I did was focus on running, and definitely trained harder than footballers. Oh, we might have a question. Another question coming in here. Danny, Joey Barton. Nice one, thank you. Rachel, any tips for easing plantar fasciitis when running? Right, so Rachel is a client of ours. Hello, Rachel. Thank you for making use of this. So plantar fasciitis, the bane of my existence. Plantar fasciitis is basically extreme tightness on the sole of your foot. It hits within the arch in the main location, and then comes up the back of the heel. It's linked to calf tightness, because your calf, say that's, like that. So this is your leg, this is your foot here. This isn't just an excuse to show off my arm, I've got nothing to show off. Basically, if this is your calf side and that's your shin side, down here, your calf basically goes all the way through into your foot, and then it crosses over with all the muscles in your foot, but links into your plantar fasciitis. So tightness up here causes tightness here causes tightness up here. So it's a whole situation that you have to address. Basically, you need to be stretching calves loads. Most people think a stretch would be 15 seconds. A real stretch is actually 60 seconds to 2 minutes, but you need to work up towards that. That can be really painful if you haven't been doing anything near that / haven't been stretching. But you need to be stretching loads on your calves. You need to be stretching your feet, so pushing your toes into the ground and feeling that stretch here. You need to get yourself a lacrosse ball. If you haven't got a lacrosse ball, you can buy them off our website, funnily enough. Wasn't a planted question, but thanks, Rach. Get yourself a lacrosse ball and roll your feet. I don't think I have a free video on rolling your feet anywhere. There might be on the 4-Minute Mornings park run, which is something like episode 6. So you need to go right back. There might be that free one there. We did do an online course. So basically showed you exactly how to manage plantar fasciitis, shin splints, and calf tightness. So it's effectively answering this. A program and some instructional videos. You can always grab that if you want. But basically, you roll your foot with your toes pointing downwards, then you roll your foot with your toes pointing upwards, and we're talking lengthways and laterally and circular around your arch, applying as much pressure as possible. And it's not as much pressure as you can tolerate, it's as much pressure as you can tolerate plus 10% more. You should feel it crackling, it should be bubbling, it should be basically, but it really, really works. When I used to work in an office, I would basically roll my feet for 2 to 3 hours per day, and my feet would feel wonderful afterwards. So that would be your kind of stretching work. It would then be strengthening, so you need to do some more calf raises. So Rachel, for you, I'll pop that in your training program. So you need to be doing more calf raises. Actually, can we write that down? And then icing. Icing is only effective if you do it at least 3 times a day, really. So 20-minute blocks, towel over your ice or tea towel over your ice pack, whatever, so you don't get ice burns. And then around your heel, around underneath your foot, around your Achilles tendon, 3 to 5 times a day, split evenly if possible. Obviously that doesn't work great for most people's jobs, so realistically, if it has to be just first thing in the morning and last thing at night, cool. Maybe it's first thing in the morning as soon as you get back from work and then last thing at night, then that would be excellent. Repeat that process, your plantar fasciitis will go. I still have it to this day, but from about 8 years up, basically always existed. I have an incredibly high arch. And basically it ruled me out of training at some points, and the worst thing I did was stop training because my foot would get weaker. The weaker your foot was, the worse plantar fasciitis was. So basically when I was training the most, my foot got the strongest, and as long as I stretched, it actually went away. So my heaviest bits of training, as long as I'm training properly with the stretching in there as well, plantar fasciitis basically disappears. Hopefully that helps answer. What have we got going on? Anything else? Cool, guys. Right, last 30 seconds to write any other questions, any other follow-ups. I hope it has been manageable, because I know the screen is not smooth and it's really frustrating me that. I will do my very best to get that fixed for next week. Actually, out of interest, I mentioned last week that there will be the opportunity for us to have a physio come and join us for a bit of a Q&A. It is likely to happen in 1 to 2 weeks' time. So it's the physio who looked after me whilst I was trying to be an Olympian, trying being the key word, looked after me though, and he's been there right from the start. We've worked together in the past. He's worked with Olympic athletes. He's worked right up to the top of sport. He's going to be joining us live for a Q&A session within the next 2 weeks. So you can start getting your questions for that if you do have any. But the idea will be we'll have a discussion. We can discuss training. We'll probably have a little bit of insights from both of our areas of expertise to help you with your kind of training. And he's also offering online consultations, but I'll leave it there for the point, because he'll probably want to explain that in a little bit more detail. But if that does interest you, please, please, please comment below. Drop us an email, info@performancephysique.co.uk, if you have any questions you'd like to submit for that, or if you'd like any questions answered for these videos. We will be back next Sunday. I will probably have to do a midweek session in this coming week, just to work out why the picture for you guys isn't always smooth, because it was in the first couple of weeks, so it's a bit weird that that's happened. But other than that, oh, have we got a question? Faye, how you doing, Faye? So Faye is doing the Birmingham 10K plan. It's the free group we have here, Birmingham Fitness and Nutrition Group, and we were all training for the Birmingham 10K. We're still going to do a virtual one, but Faye's part of the group and she's been training with us. And Faye said, how come I ran 8 kilometers on Thursday? Woohoo! Well done, 8K, that's good. And felt awesome. Today I'm struggling to get through 5K. Don't worry, that's called training peaks and troughs. So your training process, your weight loss process, your weight like muscle development process, nothing is linear whatsoever. As frustrating as that is to us as humans, because we want everything to always move in that direction, basically you'll have these peaks and troughs. You will find there's loads of variability in terms of hydration status, the point at which you've eaten, the things that you've eaten. So people very often find Sunday runs, they feel very groggy if they've been eating particularly high fat foods, basically junk food on the Saturday, drunk more alcohol, they're more dehydrated. A lot of people don't consume caffeine on the Sunday, they consume it on the Saturday though. Loads of variability for your nutrition and in your week. So what's your sleep pattern being like? Has your sleep changed? Or so in terms of kind of consistently better and better and better runs, there has to be some peaks and troughs. And it's the trough sessions I've never referred to it as before, but trough sessions, I like that one. I think I mentioned to Ian in the group that they're the ones which very often are the ones that replicate a situation that could occur in a race, for example. And if you get through that session and you complete it, doesn't matter what, cool, you got through it, and that will be the one which leads to your greatest improvement in performance. These things just happen. Your heart rate may be slightly elevated on today's one than it was on Thursday, I think it is, you said. And it's nothing to be concerned about. Remember, easy running should be really tapered back and easy. A periodization is effectively how we program in each of the runs and each of the training sessions for whether it's like 4 weeks, which would be a very, very short program, or a 4-year cycle, so a full Olympic year cycle. It is incredibly complicated to work out, but it all reverts to basically the response of the human body, physiological responses, and a couple of psychological responses, but mainly physiological responses to training and training load, so how much training you're doing at what intensities, and therefore how you peak. So to make a really basic example would be the week before you race, you don't do anything very demanding. We basically taper, we take it a lot easier, but we keep you moving. One of the key issues, key mistakes people make is that A, they just stop training and then they're really stiff for race day in that week, or B, they think they can get some kind of performance benefit by training really hard 7 days before you race. You are not going to improve your fitness within 7 days, so don't do that. That's how we scale out a program. So around week 6 to week 8 is really, that would be, so I'm thinking, so basically around up to 2 weeks prior to training, prior to your race, will be the heaviest load of your program. So it should be the most challenging, most difficult, most tiring parts of your training. And coincidentally, that's where you are at pretty much at this moment in time. If we look over the original end date for the Birmingham 10K. So don't worry at all, Faye. Take it within your stride. You've done your 8K. That is what you should be clinging on to. Well done. Good job from me. And the rest of us in the Birmingham 10K group. Right, everyone, I'm going to leave it there. If you can please click like, love, ha, wow, that would be amazing. Facebook basically takes these reactions and says who we should be showing them to. If you're watching on YouTube, thank you very much. Post your question in the comments, YouTube watchers, and we'll answer those next week. If you see me pop up live during the week, it's because I'm testing this out. Maybe I'll do this, I don't know, tomorrow. I don't know. But if you see something pop up, by all means answer the question. It might not be as professionally organised or anything because I'm testing things, but it'd be great to see you there. Otherwise, have a fantastic Sunday, everyone. Thank you very much for watching. Please stay safe. It's a very, very difficult, challenging time, but we are hopefully almost there with our lockdown. So stay safe, everyone. Enjoy your Sunday, and I'll speak to you soon.